Now we're back. We're going to talk about the importance of starting a process if your house is in foreclosure early. We're going to go to Gail Watson, who is a really good client of mine and a really good case of or example of what it is or what can happen if you start the process early. Now, Gail came into our office. Everything was falling apart. I mean, house was in foreclosure, but it wasn't like a year in or 2 years in and she wasn't facing sheriff's sale. And she also had a lot of credit card debts. Now, in her situation, I call this a double home run. Because what we were able to do was, okay, I said, listen, you're not that far behind. Let's see if we can go to the bank and negotiate some kind of modification for you so that you'll be able to stay in the house. You know, we looked at all of her expenses. We looked at how much she was bringing in. We looked at the mortgage payment. And we said to ourselves, okay, let's see if we could get this done. Thankfully and prayerfully, really, we were able to get her a modification. The next step in this double home run was, okay, now I've stabilized the home. And you're in the home and you can now afford it. Let's look at the unsecured debts. Let's look at all the credit card debts and everything else that's coming after you. And then once the modification was in place, we were able to put her in a Chapter 7. So the double home run is this. She came into our office with everything falling apart. House is in foreclosure, credit card debts are all over the place, and all kinds of debts. Gas bill, light bill, you name it. We were able to stabilize the home via modification so that she can now stay in the home at a price or at a mortgage payment that she can afford, and her credit card debts is gone. So she came in with debt and the possibility of losing the home, and she's going out with no debt and being able to stay in the home at a price she can afford. Let's listen to Gail.
That way. I always saw myself as a hard worker, a dedicated person, a reliable person, a bill-paying person, a person that saved their money to, who's that? That's not me. But my name was on there, and so was my social security number and the addresses that I had lived at over the past 10 years. So that was actually me, you know, and that's the way people they would see me, as that person with all of these problems, all of this trouble, no direction, no sense of financial responsibility. What I was doing was I was taking the credit cards and trying to pay for everything. So if it was a medical bill that came in, if the baby needed Pampers, if the baby needed another piece of apparatus like a high chair or the swing or some shoes, or if the car was giving me problems. If I took my paycheck to get the car fixed, then I didn't have food to feed us with. And in order to have food to feed us with, I needed the car to run so I could get to the jobs to make the money. So it was like I was taking from Peter to give to Paul, but the problem was I ran out from Peter to give to Paul, and Paul didn't have anything for me to give back to Peter. So it was like I was working on zero. I had nothing. I had air going in between everything. And I made money, but I just didn't have the money to give to everybody. If I gave this person half of their money, they were sending me a letter asking me for the other half, but the other half of their money I gave to somebody else. But it might be too late because they're getting ready to turn something off. So, you know, I just struggled. It was like a ridiculous struggle after struggle. And it wasn't so much that I didn't trust the people, it was that I didn't want to lose control of what was going on. I really didn't want them to know that I was in a crisis, because they felt comfortable. They could go to sleep, they could get up, they could eat, they could go to the movies, they could get their hair cut and their hair done. I was the one that was just running ragged. But once I hit that rut, I felt like I was in the low class. Even though I made good money and I had saved a couple dollars and I had possession of things that we didn't have when I was coming up, I'm like, I don't feel no better than I did as a kid. Because I might have a car out there. I got a home where I can actually, I could run through my house and ride a bicycle through the first floor where we had to step over top of each other to get around, because I came from the projects. And I was like, this is not right. This is not working for me. But my fear was I didn't want my family to be uncomfortable. I didn't want them to worry. I figured, let me just worry about it. because my man, he was sick. My daughter had this child, and they were all dependent on me, and I had to pull through for them. I had to make sure that I had a roof over their head, food to put in their stomach, and of course a luxury or two, a car, cable, a telephone, the ability to go out the house and be able to purchase things that they wanted, not what they needed, but what they wanted, because I wanted to give them things in life. And I found that I was just digging that hole bigger and bigger for myself, and I couldn't talk, and then I'm snappy because I don't want to tell you that I'm messing up, because I don't want you to get mad and we have to argue about things, or you don't want to talk to me because you don't know what I'm over here doing with the money or what is going on, because the thing was, it wasn't drugs. It wasn't alcohol. It was mismanagement. It was living too carefree. It was renting a car when nothing was wrong with the car that was sitting outside the door. Or it was taking a trip when you really couldn't afford to, or buying that lottery ticket when you knew you had that winning number, but it wasn't that night. Or going to the casino and blowing, the bill money and forgetting you got to come back here and be like, okay, well, we're not going to have that for maybe 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
You've heard Gail's story. I'm sure it's not that unfamiliar, but there's this sense of shame and secrecy when people have financial problems. Some sort of, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this? Listen, there's no shame in this game. You have the business of running your life. Okay, you made some bad decisions and now your business is about to fail. You know better, so now you're going to do better and you're going to get your financial house in order. We'll be right back showing you how Gail got her financial house in order.
Follow Georgette on Twitter and have your questions answered at twitter.com/GMLaw.